Welcome back into Pritches Get Stitches. We're glad you are here with us today. Maybe your first time here listening. Maybe it's your third time. I don't know. But we are definitely glad that you are spending a little bit of time with us today. And Holly, I just wanted to point out I got some new swag yesterday.
Yeah, you did. I like that. A nice looking hat there, bud.
Yeah, you know, I just have been looking around and trying to see what kind of hat I wanted to wear, because honestly, you know, I'm repping all these other things, and I'm like, why not rep ourselves, right?
100%, man. Nobody advertises like you advertise for yourself, so mark it away.
So definitely something that, you know, possibly we'll have here in the future as we, you know, gain more listeners, and people are, I actually had somebody reach out to me already and was like, dude, I want one of those hats. So if it's something you want, you're listening in, or obviously if you're listening in, you can't see. So go over to our YouTube page at Pritch and Moan. Make sure you like, subscribe, all that good stuff, no matter where you're watching or listening. If you're on Spotify, Apple, Amazon, whatever, like, subscribe, make sure that, you know, supports us and helps us out. But somebody reached out to me and was like, hey, dude, I want one of those hats. So I actually got him one going. It's he'll get it here in a couple of weeks. But if it is something you want, you can definitely shoot us an email, pritchesgetstitches@gmail.com. So, you know, excited about this hat, and definitely going to expand over the next couple of weeks as well. So anyways, that's our little plug for today.
Good plug.
Yeah, plugging ourselves here. So Holly, I did see you've already taken a drink. What you got going today?
You know, today I am trying a new drink. My roommate Elizabeth was talking to me about this coffee concentrate that she's ordered. It's through Jot.co. It's called Jot Coffee.
Okay.
So Jot.co. It's actually Tony Hawk's Kickstarter. I didn't know that until I ordered it. So I went on, they're having like a special. So a few days ago, I went on and ordered, it was like the 3 flight. So 3 different little bottles. And then it comes with, mine came with 2 free glasses, like iced coffee glasses, as well as the little tablespoon and straws. And so I'm trying it out today because I love iced coffee in the summer, but I've always had to make it with my Nespresso machine. So it comes out hot, and then I have to add the ice, and then the ice melts, so I have to add more ice. So this was kind of convenient. So it's my first time trying it today. And I have to say, I absolutely love it. Highly recommend it. I ended up getting the 4 different bottles of it. $65, all that free stuff. I mean, yeah. You know, so pretty good. I'm thinking that it was a good purchase.
Jot Coffee, J-O-T.
Yep, Jot
All
Coffee.
Right. Well, I discovered something the other day too.
Uh-oh.
I got my water today. That's how I roll. But I discovered, so I was like on this, I was not drinking caffeine like at the beginning of the year. And some of our listeners may be like, oh, it's probably a religious deal. It was not, because I drink my fair share of caffeine. But I think I said in our first episode, I had gone and run sprints with my son, with Jared, and my heart was like, you're an idiot. Like, what are you doing? And I realized I was drinking so much caffeine. You know, I'd go to the gym, and before, you know, while I'm working out, I'm drinking like 100 milligrams of caffeine. And then I'm going and getting another energy drink. My favorite energy drinks are like Alani, and that one has 200 milligrams. Celsius has 200 milligrams.
Right.
Amino, which is from Optimum Nutrition, they sell them in cans at the convenience store. They have 100 milligrams. So I'm like pounding that. Plus I'm maybe drinking a Dr. Pepper. So I'm like...
Yeah, and energy drinks are so terrible for you on top of the caffeine. Just so you know, in case you don't
So
know
it wasn't like a Monster drink or a Red Bull, so I justify it like, hey, this one's the healthy energy drink, when in reality, I know it's probably still not good for me.
Got it. Okay.
But yeah, so because that's the natural caffeine or whatever, you know, that's my justification. Right. So I realized I was drinking probably 400 to 600 milligrams of caffeine a day, and I was like, dude, I got to stop this. And so I did. And I stopped it for about 4 months. And then what kind of hooked me back in was Dr. Pepper came out with this strawberries and cream Dr. Pepper.
Ooh. Dr. Pepper, you ruin it so much, dude. Dr. Pepper should just be Dr. Pepper, like from a fountain.
Listen.
You know, you drink it from a can in a bottle. I can't do, but it's got to be from a fountain. And I just want pure, original, delicious Dr. Pepper.
See, that's everything about you is like purist, right? You want to have like pitch clock in baseball. You hate it. You're like, I want to have a 4-hour baseball game so I can have 75 beers.
Listen. When I'm at home watching baseball, I like the pitch clock. But when I'm sitting at a stadium, and the whole reason I'm going to the stadium is to drink a lot of beer and be able to say, like, I'm at a baseball game. That, like, the pitch clock cuts out like 3 beers
I know,
during the course of the baseball game. So now I'm having to drink it even more. I'm double fisting, like, got to get the same amount in because now it's cut down by like 45 minutes. That's drinking time.
You said you went to the Giants opener this past week, and you said people were like, of course, you have a long line, and then the game's going so much faster that they were having to order, like, bring in 3 or 4 beers.
I'm not joking. When I say like people had like drink carriers, like with 4 beers, and it's like him and his buddy, and they're like, it's just us, but these games are going, like, we waited in line and we missed an entire inning because the pitch clock. I mean, I understand why they do it, but on the same token, I don't agree with it.
So if you go to the game, hey, no pitch clock, Holly's here.
Correct.
No pitch clock.
100%.
But we're watching it at the house, and it's like, boom, 2.5 hours done.
Right. Because I got other stuff to do. I don't have 2.5 hours just to sit and watch TV.
All right.
Which is actually not a true statement. I've got all day to sit and watch TV.
Yeah, you do. So everything about you is like purist. So you're like, has to be from a fountain, has to be regular Dr. Pepper. Me, I'm like, dude, let me try this out. Like Dr. Pepper cream soda, like one of the best sodas I've ever had. Like, don't get me wrong, like in the hierarchy of Dr. Peppers, Dr. Pepper's gonna be number 1 regular. But man, this strawberries and cream, people are talking about it. I'm like, I gotta try this. And
that just sounds awful.
It's delicious. Oh my gosh, you are crazy.
I'll take your word for it. I'll stick with mine, you stick with yours.
So I definitely enjoy the change of that. I haven't found one at a convenience store yet that is 0 sugar. Like, I know they sell them. They just, so I'm getting fully leaded.
You probably ought to go to like
sugar
to the like grocery store and buy a 6-pack of it or something. I'm sure they sell it there.
Well, here's the thing. I buy a 6-pack and
you drink them all.
That's fine. I'll drink 4 of them in a day. And so I'm like, hey, I pay a little bit more to go to like 7-Eleven or whatever, but
yeah, but they probably have the 0 sugar ones, though, at the grocery store is what I'm getting at. I don't have the zeros yet or you got to drive like a million miles to go to a Buc-ees because they've got everything. So they probably have that.
Dude, Buc-ees. When was the first time you went to Buc-ees?
Oh, man. Years. And I remember thinking like, what? I think there was probably only a couple out at that point.
Yeah. So they only had, I think, the one like in Madisonville.
Yeah. And then all of a sudden it was like one summer and there was freaking Buc-ees everywhere. And I'll tell you, I went home last weekend to Killeen, and on the way down to Killeen and on the way back from Killeen, I'm 100% sure that Buc-ees bought 85% of the billboards along the highway.
Oh, yeah, for sure. It's like
billboard after billboard
mile.
after billboard. Yeah. I'm like, this is a freaking gas station that.
Oh, dude, it's heaven,
but it's
man.
like, it's
the
an
greatest
institution.
place on earth.
I'll tell you, my cousin, our cousins up in Utah who I'm really close with, they love Buc-ees. They have like Buc-ees gear. She's always asking like, hey, next time you're at a Buc-ees, I'm like, girl, there's no close Buc-ees to me. I'm not driving an hour to buy your kid a 5th Buc-ees t-shirt. Like,
dude, Buc-ees, I have so much Buc-ees stuff in my house. Like, it's not necessarily me. Like, I don't buy the Buc-ees stuff, but my girls, like, I was doing their laundry the other day because,
sweatshirts.
They've got
t-shirts.
We did one load and it was just Buc-ees shirts. I'm not even kidding.
No, I have no doubt. It's the craziest thing. It's like, I think they're trying to get that like Whataburger HEB status, like
they've
Texas institution. And I mean, they did it in that one summer where they scaled and built like 20,000 of them.
Dude, and it's not even Texas. They're all over. We have a sister that travels, and I read her Facebook every once in a while, and it'll be like, we're traveling and we got to stop at Buc-ees. Every Buc-ees we see.
And I was going to say, like, it's like you have to stop. Something draws you in and you're like, I'm going to go there. Even though the lines are, probably long lines, I don't know, but it's like everybody goes, but I'm going to go too because it's Buc-ees. It's just like if there's an HEB, you're going to HEB.
Yeah, oh, dude, there's an HEB coming, a couple of them by me. I'm pretty excited about that. But if like those billboards, they draw you in though, because like it's every mile, every 2 miles. And you're like, dude, I really got to pee. Like I'm, been driving. You're like, I got to pee. And you're like, oh, I can wait 84 miles. That's not a big deal. Because you look off and you're like, I can go to that little crappy convenience store. I can go to Buc-ees, which is, like I said,
and Buc-ees always has clean bathrooms and everything, so you always know. So I mean, they've done a good job. They've definitely marketed themselves well and have sold us this idea that Buc-ees is the go-to gas station, whether you're traveling or you want a t-shirt. I mean, it's literally like the Bucky Nuggets. I think they're called
Beaver Nuggets.
There you go, Beaver Nuggets. Last time I went home to Utah, my cousin's like, hey, can you stop at the Buc-ees and pick some of these up for us and pack them in a suitcase? And she sent me enough money to pack an entire suitcase because I normally don't check luggage. And I checked it, and all it was like bags of these Beaver Nuggets to take up so that they could have them. And because they come down once a year and they stock up every time they're here, they stock up on all their stuff, but they'd run out. So I had to take them a whole suitcase. I'm like, this is ridiculous.
they got some good stuff. I mean, their fountain drinks are good. Like they've got their own fountain drinks, obviously their own stuff. Anyways, so if you've never been to Buc-ees, like here's our free plug to Buc-ees. So maybe we'll clip this video and send it to Buc-ees and be like, hey, 4 people are going to be coming to your store here soon.
Right.
Because
all
of
4
this.
subscribers.
That's right. No,
mention our names, guys, when you go, and you'll get absolutely nothing for that.
Absolutely. Be like, hey, Pritches get stitches, send us over there. They'll be like, I don't.
Yeah,
who's that?
Still $5.42.
So Holly, this is something I didn't discuss before the show. So hopefully you have one ready. But did you have a fun fact of the day for us today?
Oh, fun fact of the day. Okay, so I forgot that we're kind of doing, just for our viewers, we're doing like a free flow, like no real topic today, or I guess we're just going to kind of discuss.
We have some topics here that we're discussing, but after, just so our listeners know, we usually record these like end of the week. But this past show that we had, episode 1, which we dropped earlier, it's earlier this week. We had to re-record because, like I said on our Facebook page, we had some audio issues, and so I was overloaded with science. So I had 2 episodes with you of just science facts, and I just couldn't do it again. So,
I got one.
Anyways, okay, so here we go. Fun fact of the day.
I have one. I just thought about this because I was thinking about last week's show we did about dolphins. Didn't mean to cut you off, but you know how I am. Since we did dolphins, I was thinking, like, I know a fun fact about whales. And a lot of times they use whales in their songs to map the ocean floor.
Wait, say that again.
So researchers use whales
their songs
to map the ocean floor because sound can travel to the depths of like 1.5 miles underwater, and it bounces back. Like they record how long it takes to go down and bounce back the sound, and then based upon that, they can equate that into measurements and then map the ocean floor. So there you go. That's my
science for the day.
Science for the day. That might be the only science for the day because I don't really know since we're free flowing, I'm not sure I'll have a whole lot of science.
Well, here's the thing. You've researched so much. Like, it's funny how our brain works. Like, we compartmentalize everything, and then all of a sudden somebody will say a keyword and boom.
We'll see. Otherwise, it's just going to be a bunch of back and forth.
So it may just be a bunch of, we're throwing up on everybody, but it is what it is. But, last week or in our last show, you asked me, you said, it was my favorite restaurant. And it was rapid fire, and I am not very good at rapid fire. You always tell me how terrible I am at telling jokes, which I've been working on.
The worst.
I became a dad, and so my dad jokes have gotten better. And so when you kind of put me on the spot, let me just so our listeners know, the first episode we did, our pilot episode, Holly wrote those rapid fire questions that I asked her, and so she knew the answers, and I thought she was going to ask me the same questions, but opposite. Like, one of them was like, what's the best thing about being single? And then I couldn't
ask you the same because you were supposed the best alcoholic drink.
Well, I know, but you could ask me something similar. So I'm thinking I'm going with that. And she, line science me with a whole bunch of different questions. But one of the ones that I said was, my favorite restaurant is Mariana's San Diego taco shop.
Right.
And you're not a huge fan of San Diego Mexican food.
All right, listen. It's like there's Cali Mex. I mean, everywhere has its own style of Mex, right? But I mean, Tex-Mex, there's like a lot of cheese. First of all, who doesn't like cheese?
Tex-Mex is like constipation waiting to happen.
Oh man, it's so good. It's like cheese again. Like
everything's
so
fried.
Much cheese. Yeah, fried. The spices they use, it's. I will say when I went to A&M, I worked at a Mexican restaurant, and I worked doubles. I would work doubles just about every day when I wasn't in class. And I think I only went to class Tuesdays and Thursdays. So every other day of the week I worked doubles, and I would eat Mexican food every day. And even though I'm walking around all day long serving tables, I did gain some weight that semester.
Tex-Mex will do it, man. Because you ate probably chips and salsa like it was going out of style.
Oh, chips and salsa, the beans, oh man. And I worked at a little homegrown Mexican joint down there. The owner, his mom, little old Mexican lady was the cook. So she's back there cooking recipes, family recipes and stuff. And it was so fatty, but it was I'm okay being a fatty when it's involved with Mexican food, all day long, chips and salsa, last night I didn't feel like cooking. Well, honestly, I haven't grocery shopped in a while, so I didn't have anything to cook anyway. So I was going to do.
So you haven't left your apartment in a while.
Correct. So I was going to do peanut butter and jelly, but then I ended up literally just like gorging myself on chips and salsa, and that was my dinner.
Yeah,
and
there you go.
Did not feel bad about it.
So there's different types of Mexican food. I mean, Tex-Mex, obviously that's what I grew up with.
Number one.
You go
the best. 100%.
I mean,
I'm not even going to let you talk right now because I know you're going to say that Cali Mex is the best.
Well, I don't even know what Cali Mex is. Then you have like fake Mexican food like Chipotle.
Tacos.
Yeah, like Chipotle, which is not real Mexican food, even though they say they are.
There's one up in Cafe Rio in Utah.
Dude, all my Utah friends are like, "Oh, Cafe Rio's the best." I'm like, "Guys, you're from Utah."
And I'm like, "Listen, guys, let's not call this Mexican food. Nothing
Costa
bothers
Vida.
me more." Yeah.
Costa Vida, they're like, "Oh, Costa Vida, that's so great."
Chipotle, everybody loves that, but I'm like, Chipotle's good, but let's not call it Mexican just because you put it in. It's just not. I mean, I get it. Maybe because it's like a burrito style, they sell those, they call it, but it's like that's not Mexican. Can't get behind that.
So just to tell you how not Mexican Costa Vida is, that they opened Costa Vida here and didn't last very long.
No, because it's Tex-Mex. You can't beat that.
It's just funny because there's a lot of people I know that have moved from Utah up to our area, and so they're starting to get a lot more of the Utah stuff, like swig.
I know. I saw that the other day, and I was like, "What is happening?" So, for those who don't know, Utah predominantly Mormon state. So in Texas, like in Colleen, where I grew up, they have like a drive-through daiquiri express, so you can go through and order like alcohol through the window. They serve it in like a soda fountain cup, but what they do is they tape the top of the straw closed because then it's not considered an open container. So that's the type of like drink places you have in Texas.
Right.
And you go to Utah and they have soda, like Coke stores. You can go in and order like whatever type of Coke you want with like whatever type of flavoring you want. And every single one I've ever passed up there, and they're everywhere. I mean, on every single corner.
You got like Swig and Fizz. And
Swig, Fizz, Thirst, and the lines are wrapped around. And I'm like, this is insane. Like our cousin, her daughters go every day, 3 or 4 times a day. And I'm like, the amount of like trash you're putting in your body. And I love Dr. Pepper, don't get me wrong, but I do not drink that on the daily. Like,
and listen, Tom Brady, he doesn't drink soda, so that must tell us something. That dude hasn't aged.
Yeah. So I'm just saying the amount, like, it's the craziest thing. And then I saw one, it's here, like in your hometown, right? Swig?
We got a couple of them.
Yeah, I saw it the other day on the highway, and I'm like, what is happening?
Prosper is a very highly concentrated with members of the church that we go to. So there's a lot of, and they're from Utah. Most of them are from Utah.
Yes.
So they're just bringing their stuff.
That Swig. Ugh, I'll tell you. I can't imagine. And then it's like you get one.
It was like a holiday here for our church. It's like church holiday, go to Swig.
Yeah, and then you order one drink, and really it's like, hey, I got a Dr. Pepper, and they did like a couple pumps of like the flavored syrup, and it's $9. And I'm like, what?
Yeah.
Wow, you guys are getting over on it.
So we actually had an activity at our church, like after church, we had it's called like a lean or longer, and you stay after and you chat with people, whatever. And they actually did a Swig bar. That's what they called it. And so they brought pumps of flavoring, and you made your own flavor, and people made the cookies and the whole deal, man. It's a whole deal.
Yeah, that is
crazy.
And it was funny because my friend Karen came to visit me in Utah last summer. We were like going at the grocery store, and grocery stores have the little like strip centers along the outside that they have stores in.
Right.
And on the corner, there was on the corner of one was Swig, and on the corner of the other was an Indian food place. And the Swig line was so long, so the Indian restaurant didn't have like a drive-through, but because it started so close to the Indian place, she assumed that the drive-through was for the Indian place, and she's like, "Dang, that must be really good Indian food." And I'm like, "Girl, that's for the soda, like that's for Swig." And she's like, "Well, what's Swig?" And I'm like, "Oh, it's a place you can go get soda." She's like, "What?" Like the concept to her was foreign. Like when I explained it to her, she's like, hold up. Like that's all they sell there are like sodas. And I'm like, yeah, girl, they don't drink alcohol up here. Mind blown. She was just like, this is the craziest thing.
Yeah, it's crazy.
And they make bank. Like $9 for a Coke.
It's nuts. So the other day, well, about a month ago, 2 months ago, I downloaded an app. Somebody told me about this app. I'm kind of switching gears now. Sorry. Swig is now in the past. I downloaded this app called ChatGPT. You ever heard of that?
I have heard of that. I've never actually used it, but I've heard about like that one. And then Microsoft has one that I can't remember what that one's called, but there's been a lot of glitches in that one.
I
So I've
heard.
been kind of following it before.
So what are your thoughts on that? Like ChatGPT, obviously an AI, you just put in whatever you want to put in, and
Yeah,
it
I mean,
sends you back whatever.
I think it's like an amazing technology. There's actually, I mean, I don't know. There was here's some science for you. There was a college student who created I don't know if it's like an app or what, but it's for the sake of not knowing specifically, an app that professors could feed students papers into, and the app would determine if it was written by a student or if ChatGPT wrote it.
Oh wow.
So, because that's what colleges have found, that since this has become an open source thing, and they've had other ones that were like OpenAI, they've had other ones. ChatGPT has been like the big one lately, but they've had these for a minute. So this student came up with and has sold it to like colleges, and they use it now as a way to determine if you're writing your paper or if you're saying like, hey, ChatGPT, write me a 5,000 page or a 20-page paper on blah, blah, blah. So for me, the reason I don't like it,
I know why you don't like it, because you want to write your own papers.
I want to write my own papers. Like, I feel like, why are you going to cheat yourself? Like, here's an opportunity for you to write a paper and learn, and you're going to have somebody else do it for you. Like, I don't know. I just feel like, I was talking to one of my nieces the other day, and we were talking about, she was saying how much she hated school. And I told her, like, you have to change your perspective. And she was like, I don't know how to change my perspective on that. And I was like, listen, people can take everything away from you. They can take away your self-confidence. They can take away any physical things you own. They could take away your dignity, your pride. The one thing they can never take from you is your education. So she was like, I like that. I'm going to tell myself that whenever I start to think about how much I hate school, that it's like the one thing somebody can never take away from me. And maybe that's why I like it so much, because I'm super nerdy. And I'm like, you could take everything, but you're still not going to break me, because I'm still going to have that nerd moment of the day.
Nerd of the day. So ChatGPT is pretty cool. I mean, I've put some stuff in there. What made me bring it up was, so the other day, my son, he's, Jared, the 16-year-old, he was taking, we have these tests here in Texas called the STAR test. All my kids have had to take some version of it here this past week. And so he's sitting there, we're getting ready. He's getting ready for school. We're just kind of sitting there, right before school starts. And so I just typed it in, like, write an encouraging note to my son who is getting ready to take the STAR test today in high school.
Okay.
And so it's like, dear, your son's name. So Jared, I wanted to take a moment to wish you good luck as you prepare for the STAR test today. I know you've been working hard to prepare for this day, and I want you to know that I am proud of all the effort that you put in. And it goes on, it's like 3 paragraphs. And I read that to him, and he's like, thanks, Dad. I really appreciate that. And I was like, yeah, just, ChatGPT wrote that, but I really do mean all those words. And he started laughing. He's like, I thought you really just wrote that. So there's just different things. But the reason why I brought it up, like why I'm thinking about it, was what could happen with something like this, and could it eliminate different, like, could every website, every app that we have just come to that one? Because yesterday I'm like my gym routine, like I'm trying to keep my father figure going. But I thought the other day, like, I do want to look a little better, like 40. I want to make sure I'm fit. My goal was fit at 40, and that didn't happen, but I'm still working. I'm still 40, so I can still do it.
Now you're just fit-ish at 40.
That's right. And so, maybe like look a little better for my wife, kind of a thing. And so I went online because I finished my workout. I was waiting for her to get out of her workout class, which my workout was yesterday was not very much. So I put into Google, like, find me a workout plan. And of course, I just went to the first website that popped up. It asked me all these questions, and it's like, for 51 cents a day, you can have this workout plan. And I'm like, I'm not gonna pay for a workout plan. Like, I'll pay for a personal trainer before I pay a website. So anyways, I was like, wait a minute. So I went to ChatGPT, and I just said I need a workout plan to build, to help me lose weight and build muscle that does not require front or back squats, because as you know, that's how I hurt my back. Right. So I'm like, just keep the squats out of it.
Right.
So I was like, certainly, here's a workout plan that focuses on whole body movement and does not include front or back squats. It gives me this whole workout. And so,
interesting.
So what I'm going to do is, so I tweaked it a little bit more. I, became a little bit more specific. I'm actually going to do the ChatGPT workout plan over the next few months and see how it works.
Oh, that's,
and it didn't cost me anything.
That's pretty brilliant, because that's pretty brilliant. Because when I think about it, the things you could use this for, that you have to do, I don't know, like I don't have anything specific in my mind, but that is like now, like my mind is marinating on this idea that
I mean, so there's
The
all
things
sorts of
that you
things.
pay for. Yeah, like you pay for like a workout plan typically, or a trainer who's going to come up with that. The only thing I'm curious about, do you know any of the trainers at the gym personally?
I don't know them personally, no.
Okay, but you know, like one of the girls who works at the gym, she gives Ava she does volleyball lessons with Ava. You
Right.
need to give her that workout plan and have her take it to a trainer, but not tell her, the trainer, like where it came from, and see what the trainer's thoughts are. Like somebody who's certified in this, went to school for this. Like, because I'm curious, because with ChatGPT, all it does is search
I don't know
the
if it just
internet.
searches the internet. Like
So, well, it does.
Amazon does and all these other ones do, like Alexa and
Right. It
all that.
searches.
She's going to start talking, by the way, if it's
Uh-oh.
on. I have an Alexa right here by us. Let me turn that thing on.
But what it does is it searches the internet essentially for all of these different topics. And so it will go in and you say, find me a workout plan. And it's going to like probably do it by keyword, by workout plan, by, whatever you've asked it to do. And then it's going to, take usually like the most common and put it in. So I'm curious if this is like an actual.
Well, here's the workout. So it literally did it in like 20 seconds. Like I had this workout plan. And so number one, it says warm up, do 5 to 10 minutes of light cardio, such as jogging in place, jumping jacks, or cycling. 2.
Okay. Or rowing. That's a better
Or rowing. I rode today. Actually, I did a little hit rowing. So I rode, lightly for a minute. Then I did 30 seconds full on. Then I rode lightly. Anyways, 2, it says do push-ups. Tells me how to do the push-ups, how many to do 3 sets of 10. Then it says dumbbell bench press, and it tells me why. And it says, like, this is the wording. It says do 3 sets of 10 reps using a weight that is challenging, but not too heavy that you can't complete the sets. Now, the thing about Alexa, which, by the way, Alexa was talking that whole time. We both have headphones in, but she was talking for like 3 minutes. I had to turn her off. If she doesn't know something, she'll be like, I don't know the answer to that. ChatGPT is not giving me an answer.
Because it's constantly searching and it's got the access of the whole interwebs related to it.
So dumbbell bench press. Then 4, it says do bent over rows. And these are all like legit. I do these already.
Right.
5 lunges, 6 dumbbell shoulder press, tells me how many to do. 7 plank, 8 side plank, and then 9, it says to cool down, do some light cardio.
Yeah, but what you should have accounted for is the fact that you can't do side planks, that you probably can't.
Yes, I
do
can.
some.
Come on.
Can you?
Yeah, of course.
I'm not saying that as a mean thing. I'm just saying, like, a lot of times it's like, I struggle. I used to do planks.
Well, it says
I
side
would
plank.
hold a plank for 5 minutes at a time and do like.
Well, it doesn't say. It just
5
says
of
30
them.
seconds. 30 seconds, rest for 15 seconds, repeat 3 times.
But side planks will hold yourself up for 30 seconds.
Yeah, I can do that. I've done that. But then at the end, he says, remember to adjust the weights or sets as necessary to make the workout more challenging as you get stronger. And always consult with a healthcare professional before exercising. So then I was like, well, make me a workout plan and a meal plan to help me build lean muscle. Mm-hmm. So it gives me this whole workout. It gives me breakfast, mid-morning snack, lunch, mid-afternoon snack, dinner, before bed snack. Gives me notes. Tells me why I'm doing those things. It's crazy. Like,
yeah, I mean, it's pretty phenomenal. I will say that much. It is definitely life-changing.
So then I was like, hey, instead of like a full body workout, maybe I just work out, chest, tris, and shoulders. Right. So I said, hey, give me this workout. Day. And so it did. Like, I don't know, like if our I know our listeners probably have heard of ChatGPT. I mean, it's crazy. Like this AI stuff, there's a lot of talk about it right now. And,
right.
I know that Tim Cook with Apple just came out and was like, I believe in AI. Right. Because it's like real stuff. Like iRobot's coming to take over.
I mean, I don't think that's ever going to happen. I really can't see that happening. But one thing, I just thought of another science thing that was pretty cool. So, you know how you have I don't know if you know this, but so I'm sure you do. But when researchers release, like, hey, we've done this study and we're going to release this article, they're peer reviewed. That way they can, check facts and everything else to make sure this is good science. So when ChatGPT was released, some researchers used ChatGPT to help them write a research paper. And one of the authors listed was ChatGPT. And so they were trying to see if, could this be accepted as good research when it's been released by not really an author, because that's one of the requirements, it has to be an author, but right. It's using ChatGPT, which is pooling from, all these different sources. So I'm curious to see, like that happened a few months ago. So it hasn't actually gone through the whole process, but I'm curious to see how they handle that. Because there's definite, like, is it going to make it into a science journal? I don't know.
Oh, well, but what's crazy about the AI stuff, like I stopped over at Circle K yesterday. All right. I don't have a Buc-ees near me. So I stopped at Circle K. I wanted to get strawberries and cream Dr. Pepper. And I got like 3 things. And I walked up to the counter and the kid was just standing behind the counter looking at his phone. And then there was this huge like contraption. And I said, whoa, what's going on? Like, you know how you like self-checkout, you go in and you scan the barcode, like beep, and then the barcode comes up, reads the barcode. He's like, just put all your stuff on that contraption. Like no barcodes needed, nothing. I just put everything on there all at one time and it scanned all of it. Like,
so Amazon,
I was like, what in the world just happened?
So Amazon has that. The grocery stores they purchased, who they purchased? Was it Whole Foods?
Mm-hmm.
They have some of them where you put your food in the cart, and then when you leave, you literally walk out. You don't stop and pay or anything because it reads. It has that technology where it's scanning your entire cart for everything in the cart, and then it just charges your Amazon account.
So I said to the kid, I was like, dude, this is like they're trying to get rid of you, I guess. Because literally, I put it on. It was like a Snickers ice cream bar, and
he probably had to do nothing.
And he just stood there, like made sure it kind of went through, right? But I was like, they're trying to get rid of you, man. He's like, well, honestly, I don't really care, anyways. I'm like, okay, well, that's probably why they're trying to get rid of you. But yeah, so this it was crazy, like this.
I mean, I have no doubt that they'll be able to use AI to do things like this, like replace menial jobs and things like that.
But I think people need that. Like, as generations grow, you get more and more people. I mean, think about it. When we were, 30 years ago, we had 6 billion people in the world. Now we have 8.
Right.
And so every generation, it gets bigger and bigger. And I know it's a menial job, but I mean, there's people that just have to make money. You know what I mean?
Well, I think the problem is those that, I think here, I'm about to go into a line I don't want to discuss.
Okay, so let's not talk about that right now. All right, but one thing that I did want, the reason why I also want to bring up ChatGPT is because you told us that you wanted to be the next great American author, poet, I should say.
Yes,
and
I did.
I wrote a couple poems to my wife on ChatGPT.
Let's hear them.
They're way too long, but here's just what I told.
Did you do one like in the style of like Shakespeare or something?
I did not.
You should do tell ChatGPT right now to write a love poem to your wife in the style of Shakespeare.
Okay, so I will, but real quick, I said, write a poem to my wife about my love for her and our first date to Wendy's. I said, my dearest Val, do you remember that first date? A simple meal, no need to wait. At Wendy's, we sat laughing and talking. At that moment, our love was unlocking. So goes on, talks about burgers and fries. And so what'd you tell me to do? Write a poem.
Write a love poem to your wife in the style of William Shakespeare.
In the style of William.
Also, did you send that poem to Val?
No, I read it to her. So I wrote you a poem. Nice. Just kidding. We were at some friend's house and we were just talking about ChatGPT. And so I figured I'd write that. So it's processing right now, but it'll get done here in a second. But I just feel like it's kind of a cool thing. I mean, my kids are always like, oh yeah, I love ChatGPT. I'm like, bro, you're like you said, like you need to like use your brain.
Again, it's like what I said the other day, where like the more technology we get, the dumber we get. I just feel like this is a way to dumb us down again.
Yeah.
And I'm, again, purist. I don't believe in that. As cool as I think it is and how it can come in handy for things like, hey, create me a workout plan so I don't have to pay $150 to go to this trainer.
I'm going to try it out. If somebody wants to, if any of our listeners want to challenge me to that, like I'll give them the plan and we can do it together. I think it'll work.
I need to do one of those and have them do it for like around my back injury. Maybe then, because everything I do, man, I just am like the next day I can't move. So I need to do that.
So I've got it here. It says, my dearest Valerie, sweet as the summer's breeze. Thine beauty hath no equal in all the 7 seas.
Yep.
Thine eyes doth sparkle like the stars above. Thy smile, a ray of sunshine, fills my heart with love. Anyways, that's like
blah, blah, blah.
4 or 5 stanzas. But I mean, it's just crazy. You can just like the amount of stuff you can do with that. So I don't know. It's going to be a cool thing to see here in the future. And obviously, I look at technology as like, it can be good and bad. Like it can be good. Like there's always a lot of good that comes from technology. I mean, if you look at the internet, obviously the internet came around, Holly, when we were like 7th, 8th, 9th grade.
Yep.
And there's been a lot of good that comes from obviously.
Oh, 100%.
The whole world runs on the internet, but there's a lot of bad in there too, and it's unfortunate, but it's good and bad. So I would just say try to do the good stuff that comes with it. But.
And I love the use of technology when technology crosses into science. And one of my favorite topics and I won't get in too nerdy on this because I haven't pulled up my research on it, but of course it's something I've researched the hell out of. But have you ever heard of CRISPR? CRISPR?
Uh-uh.
Oh man, CRISPR is like probably, in my opinion, one of the most important medical, like scientific medical breakthroughs. So it's essentially gene editing. So like,
Okay.
so scientists or, biologists, whoever, doctors, they can go in and they can find like gene mutations. Like there's a gene mutation that causes, sickle cell anemia or, diabetes or whatever the situation is. It's all based upon.
Do you have diabetes?
There you go. Well, what's his name? Old guy. What was his
Old guy.
name? Starts with
Brumley
W.
or something?
I can't
Wilford
remember.
Brumley? I can't remember.
Yeah,
but
something like that.
do you have diabetes?
Anyway, and he also did the oatmeal commercials. But CRISPR, so they can go. And so I became fascinated with it because two women, first of all, won the Nobel Prize in chemistry for its, discovery and implementation. And I became pretty excited about it when I read that they had used CRISPR to cure a woman of sickle cell anemia, which has no cure. So
Oh, wow.
sickle cell anemia, I don't know if you know what that is, but it's essentially
yeah.
your blood. Yeah, they're shaped in your blood.
It's not shaped in like a.
It's shaped in like a
round-
like a
round.
sickle.
It's
Right.
different.
It's not round. And so it causes a lot of issues with like breathing, and people don't always live for a long time. They're all constantly having to go in for blood transfusions. And so this woman, she's in, I want to say it was in Missouri. She goes it's July. She's been in now for 11 transfusions from January to July. Because she has to go in, quite often to get these done, and they tire her out. And so her doctor says, hey, there's this study that we want to do. And we're trying, he explains the study. We're trying to cure it. And she says, sign me up, and asks how many participants there are. And he says, just one, and it's you. And so they do this CRISPR on her. And it's kind of like, you can think of like gene editing as like, the way they describe it is like little scissors. So they go into the gene that's mutated and they cut out the bad, and then they stitch together the good, and then they infuse that back into you. And now this good gene, the beauty of the body, it kills off all the mutated genes and regenerates the good gene.
Oh, that's cool.
So they do this with her. She's got sickle cell anemia. She's 50 something years old. She's had it her entire life. Within 1 year, that was the last time she had to go in for a blood transfusion.
Oh my goodness. That's
And because
awesome.
she never had to go again, they declared it in 1 year. They declared her cured.
Well, hopefully
Unheard of.
hopefully they can expand that. And
Right. So they've been able to solve that one. They've been able to.
I have my own conspiracies on that stuff though. Like I feel like there's a
You
lot of
do,
stuff
but
I feel
let's
like
not take away from the science of this
no,
one,
no,
though.
no. This is great. I'm not saying that my concern is it will be taken away. You know what I mean? Like here we have this technology, we can do this, and then because if you cure something,
sure.
Because I was listening to
Big
something the
Pharma
other
runs
day.
everything.
I was listening to something the other day, and they were talking about how the light bulb companies all got together and were like, our light bulbs last too long. We have to make them crappier. I can't remember what it was called. Like it was an actual deal.
Right.
And that's because they have light bulbs that have been running for hundreds of years or 100 years or
Right.
whatever. But because you have to, like if you create something that lasts forever, you don't have any demand for it. And
Right.
Those.
I've heard
those are my deals.
plenty of that. Now, the other thing though is like with CRISPR, for example, it could be used for all this good, can also be used for stuff not so good. And so there was a doctor in China who actually lost his license, was sentenced to jail because he decided when he had a patient, she was pregnant with twins. He didn't really know about it other than kind of what he'd read. He hadn't been trained in it or anything. He went in and decided he was going to like take out the AIDS gene and, all these things that could happen. And it ended up being, he puts out this release that he's done this after these twins are born. And that's the thing. They're like, oh, you shouldn't use this like in testing. Like this isn't even like, so whatever ended up happening, he goes to jail. They did some tests on these twins and they ended up what's being called mosaic because there's no rhyme or reason for what he did. They don't know now what's going to happen. Like he's taken away these essentials in life and they don't know how this is going to affect them. So I mean,
even if you have something bad, like you have the disposition to have AIDS or you have, that gene, even though it may mutate. I mean, this is just me talking like how I would think that gene may mutate, let's say, but it's essential to other genes. You know what I mean?
Right. So that's what their concern was like this. And the two ladies who received the Nobel Prize in chemistry for this, they were like, like, this is not good. Like, this cannot be, this is basically, he was doing like human testing. Like, you can't,
crazy.
you can't do that ethically. But I did think it was pretty cool, like the fact that they've been able to use it to, to cure, now there's a cure for sickle cell anemia. There's a cure for there's a degenerative eye disease where it causes blindness. They've cured that, and people can see again. Like, they haven't been able to figure it out. Like cancer, I have hopes for like cancer, Alzheimer's, things like that. But again, I mean, I don't know if they'll be able to do that, but I think within probably, I would say maybe 20 years, I think that, just based on all the stuff I've read on it, because I've done a ton of research.
Yeah. I mean, that's
yeah.
Like I said, the research will come out once we start talking about it. So, no, that's cool. So that just thinking about the AI just kind of made me think about some of those things, and good and bad. But so Holly, we're going to kind of wrap things up here, but I wanted to talk about something. Our socials are all the socials. You've got, TikTok, Instagram, Facebook, all those, YouTube.
Correct.
They're all for us is at Pritch and Moan. PRITCHANDMOAN. And so we came up with that because of like a little segment that we wanted to call Pritch and Moan.
Right.
Because you've got one thing that we talk about is you've got this single, like divorced single life, going on first dates, meeting friends on apps and all that stuff. And then I'm in like suburbia with 4 kids and the wife and living a totally different life than you.
Right.
Have you ever been on an HOA Facebook page? Like, 'cause I live in a homeowners association, HOA.
Right.
I hate it, but I live here. Have you ever been on a Facebook group?
I've not. I also don't have social media, but I have lived in areas like when I was married, we were in an HOA, and the place I lived up in Utah had an HOA. So I know what they do. I'm familiar with them. I think a lot of them just take your money and make rules, and they do nothing in return for you. So I think it's a big scam.
No, I agree, 100%.
But I've never been on any social media page or anything with an HOA.
The one thing I do like is, I don't want my neighbor painting his house purple. You know what I mean? Like, there are some good rules that we can have
true.
as a neighborhood. But anyways, so we're part of this HOA, this Facebook page, and just some of the stuff that's posted in here. And that's where the segment Pritch and Moan comes from, of me maybe pritching and moaning about my HOA, or actually people and what they say. Like here's a post from the other day. This is a Pritch and Moan post right here. If your kids are roaming the neighborhood. Now, this was at 10:37 at night. Now, mind you, when we grew up at 10:37 at night, we're outside playing Ghosts in the Graveyard.
Right. Like, you're out midnight.
Our brothers, I remember Todd had like he made like a paper mache mask and
attached it to a body.
Attached it to us, like stuffed some, jeans and stuffed a shirt and put it on a body, and would throw it out into the street and hide it behind the big bush that was on the corner.
Yep.
And people would like stop, and
because he'd move it like as they're coming, he'd had it attached to strings, and then he'd move it so it looked like somebody was in the street laying there.
Yeah, so that's what we were doing it, and we're playing Ghosts in the Graveyard, in our neighbor's yard,
right?
Basically,
right.
Never heard anything about it.
No.
Anyways, this is the post. If your kids are roaming the neighborhood, please advise them to not go around and play ding dong ditching. 3 kids were doing that this evening, and I told them that I will call the cops if I see them do that next time.
I mean, okay, fair point. It was 10:30 at night. I mean, I don't agree with the calling the cops things, but it was 10:30 at night. If you do live in suburbia, there's a lot of people who got babies.
Come on. I mean, I'm not a proponent. I'm not a proponent of ding dong ditching, but I
don't agree with the calling the cops thing. It should be more.
But
like
everything that somebody doesn't agree with, they're like, I'm going to call the cops. Like when it iced here, when we had ice apocalypse, like I don't know, a couple of years ago, my kids were out playing in it. Jared has a friend, and Cade has a dirt bike, and the ice was like 6 inches, and it was just straight ice. And so there was ice all over the neighborhood park. And we have like a huge park, like 6-acre park right across the street from us. And so they're like building ramps and stuff. And so they attach the sled to the back of the dirt bike, and they're riding around on this, and they're jumping up the sled and all those things. And some lady is like, my wife's out there, Val's out there with them. And the lady says something to the kids like, you guys shouldn't be doing that. You're ruining the park. And we're like, we're not ruining the park. There's 6 inches of ice under this thing and snow. Like, what are you talking about? She's like, oh, so my wife's like, excuse me, did you want to talk to me? Like, I'm their adult, like their parent. Like, what's going on? She's like, oh, don't worry about it. I'm just going to call the cops. And we're like, seriously?
Yeah. I mean, I do think
really?
People overreact on a lot of things.
So there's just a lot of, a lot of crazy stuff that happens in an HOA. And so I want to share that.
I think though that people just forget what it's like to be a kid.
Yeah.
Like life was so much different and carefree. And if the worst thing you're worrying about is like your kid is out like ding dong ditching or whatever they called it, like you should be happy about that. Like the neighborhood should be okay with that because they're not out like vandalizing a car. They're not out shooting somebody. They're not breaking windows out of something. Like if that's the worst thing you have to complain about, why are you complaining?
I just think people want to be heard. But remember that time, I think maybe you were part of it. I don't know, Hillary and Heather maybe. And they were going to prank call everybody in Colleen.
Yes.
And they started with the prefix, and then they were like, well, the first number is 0001.
Yep.
And that was our bishop's number for church.
Yep, I remember that 628-0001.
And he's like, hello.
And you knew his voice.
And you knew his voice.
His voice was so deep. It was very like distinct. And they took that as a sign that was God telling them not to prank call because it was like the church bishop answered the phone. And that was the end of we're going to prank call the whole entire city of Killeen.
And of course, that was pre-caller ID.
Caller ID. Yeah. You couldn't dial, what was it, where you could call them back? Star 69?
Star 69, I think. Yeah.
Yeah, they didn't have any of that stuff going on.
So my last one here is, and this is a question I don't understand this. So I live about 5 houses down from the elementary school.
Okay.
Why do parents show up an hour and a half early to get in car line?
Here's what I've seen. I don't know about the car line, but you do have you have a lot of people who walk down there at that point. So, like they're walking down to get their kids right now.
No. I'm talking, it is 1:50 right now. School's out at 3.
Right.
They are already there in the car line.
I think though those people get out and chat. I think it's like a social thing.
They don't. They sit there. I drive by. They sit there in their car.
In
they're
the
on their
front
phone.
of the school or on your street?
In the front of the school.
Oh, yeah. I don't know about those.
See, car line's different than walkers. So the walkers, they all leave. And the parents are there to pick them up. And they're usually there 2:30. And then they're all, having social
I always
hour.
see, though, what I was going to say is the people on your street, I always see them there like 30 minutes to an hour early. And it's all the moms like standing around chatting, having their social hour.
That's fine. It's the ones who sit in their car in front of the school an hour and a half before school's over. And it's like I tell my kids, like if you ever, because my kids are walkers, and I'm like, if you ever have to get picked up because it's raining or something, and they're like, everybody's in car line, I'm like, you tell the teacher, like, I'll be the last one.
Yeah, I'm not going to.
And I will get there at 3:10. And here's the thing, like, if you show up at 3:10, you didn't wait at all. And your kid waited 10 minutes.
Yeah, but then your kid's
otherwise, who cares? Otherwise, you're there an hour and a half early and you waited for an hour and a half to get your kid 1 minute after school's out. I just don't get it. And it's the same people every day. It's not like, my kid has a doctor's appointment at 3:15. So I need to be there to make sure I get him at 3:01 so we can go to the doctor's appointment.
That's that every helicopter. Day. That's those helicopter parents all up in the business like that. I mean, I remember Chad used to get mad because when he would go to drop his kids off in the morning for school, like people don't, like you have a drop off line for a reason, right? Like this is a quick, like you shouldn't even be stopped yet when your kid's opening that door and like getting ready to jump out of the car. And it used to make him mad because there was a few parents who every day would get in that line, but then they would like get out of the car and get their kid out and walk the kid up to the front. And it's holding up the rest of the school line where these parents are trying to go, we got to drop our kid because we've got to go to work. And he would get so angry. He would be like, and it wasn't just him. Like, he's like, the whole line is like honking their horn, yelling out the window. And this, like, it's fine if you want to do that, but then use a parking space.
Yeah.
So
sure.
I don't know. I just don't get it.
The schools are like, oh, don't walk your kids up. And here they are. Yeah. That drives me nuts. So that's my Pritch and moan for today. I'm going to
let you have that. I'd rather you have that than have me have that.
Well, So as we close this out, I'm going to ask you one question.
Okay.
And then you ask me one question. And it's not going to be like, hey, whatever. But well, I guess here we go. I didn't prep you for this.
Oh, great.
So your favorite Beach Boys song?
Oh, Sloop John B. No question.
That's a good one.
Sloop John B.
Yeah. Why is that?
It takes me to my childhood. I don't know, but
I think that's
I have a memory.
Favorite.
And that's it. Like I can remember Dad taking me to kindergarten on Fort Hood one day. And it's one of my very few childhood memories I have. And we're in the car, the windows down. and Sloop John B is on the radio, and that has been my favorite Beach Boys song. It's like any other Beach Boys song comes on, I can usually change the station if I'm not in the mood. But Sloop John B comes on, that's it. I have to listen to it. I love it. Such a good one. But it's probably Dad's favorite.
Okay.
All right. One closing question for you. What did you always want to be when you were growing up? Like when you were an adult, what did you want to be?
Football player for the San Francisco 49ers.
Of course. I feel like that had to have been like every Pritchard boy's dream.
Until I was in 10th grade and realized I was not that good. I was too slow.
You went to 10th grade thinking that you could still do that? Okay, what was your backup plan? What was your backup plan? Did you have a backup plan, or were you like so sure this is what was going to happen?
So I was pretty sure that was going to happen. And then I quit football in 10th grade, and the coach, the wide receivers coach, I played wide receiver. He went to the other receivers and was like, "Hey, where's that slow white kid that always caught the ball?" And I realized I probably wasn't for me. Honestly, I didn't know what I wanted to do. Like, I wanted to own an ice cream shop because Dad had owned one, and I just wanted to own a business. But I just didn't know what. That was always my deal. But honestly, I went back and forth even after I got out of, got back from my mission and was going into school and stuff like that. I still didn't know, like, maybe I want to be a dentist. All I knew was I wanted to control my own time and make a lot of money. Like, especially growing up in Killeen, if you made six figures, that was like a big deal.
Oh, yeah, man.
I didn't know a lot of people that made six figures. And if they did make six figures, they were in the car business.
Right. And I still don't think there's a lot of people making six figures down in Killeen.
No, not a lot. So that's what I wanted to do. So I was going to break out and become a football player. But anyway, so next show, we've got some things lined up. One of these topics that we have lined up, and this is something that you would know about more so than me, but raising stepchildren and how that is, sometimes people are, a stepmom or a stepdad is criticized by the outside for the way that they raise their stepchildren, and when things are appropriate and when they're not, as opposed to, this is my own natural child.
Right.
And, you know what I mean? Like, what's the difference, and why is it like a huge deal? So that's definitely something that I'm excited for. We're actually gonna have a guest on with us, and so that'll be next week.
Awesome, looking forward to it.
All right, guys. Well, appreciate you being in and taking some time with us, and we will see you on the next show.
See ya.
Hey, what's up, my channel? Please hit the drop a like and hit the subscribe button. Looking for my first subscriber. Can't subscribe myself. Can't do that for some reason. I don't know why. Wish you could.